Chances grow thinner, for there's no hiding place against the kingdom's throne. So people get ready.
People get ready. I want to talk about the 14th Congressional District race. One of the things that I've noticed, so if you know anything about the 14th, I used to live in Dallas, Georgia, and I, lived there for several years. And one thing I do know about that district, as knowing Marjorie Taylor Greene, knowing people in that district is very faith-based. They're Christian. They go to church, and all the state of Georgia. I mean, this is the Bible Belt, right? When I first moved down here, it took you guys forever to sell beer on Sundays, and now you don't even really sell beer on Sundays; you just sell it after 12 noon, right? So this is the Bible Belt, but the 14th is extra, right? And I love it for that. It's one of the best parts of living out in Dallas, Georgia. All right, but the 14th is very faith-based. And you know this to be true because every candidate running in the 14th has some form of faith, Christian, God, something on their push cards, their emails, and their websites, faith, Christian, conservative, all of this stuff, right? So we know that district, Christianity means something. And people say it easily. All the candidates say it easily, comfortably even, as if the word itself works for them. But Christianity is not a claim. It's a calling. It's not something you could just say. I have faith. I'm a Christian. You can't just say it. It's a calling. And not every calling looks the same, my friends. Many in the 14th say they're angry at Marjorie Taylor Greene because she left her seat early. I've heard this throughout the district. I love Trump, but Marjorie Taylor Greene left too soon. Then people will say that she abandoned the voters. The district deserves better. Representation matters. You made a commitment, MTG. And those words sound right until we look closer. Because while many that are running for office in that district are criticizing someone else for leaving early, they are doing the exact same thing. You have elected officials running for that seat who just won their races either 2025 or 2024. They're leaving their voters abandoned. They're leaving the job undone that they ran for. The guy that Donald Trump endorsed, he has 2 years left as DA. He's leaving. While at the same time criticizing Marjorie Taylor Greene. At least Marjorie Taylor Greene, in her defense, she left for her family. She said, I'm going back home to my family. You're leaving the voters that you abandoned, that you just got their vote 2 years ago. You still have 2 years left in office, and you're leaving for a higher office. You're stepping away from the offices you were elected to fill. You're leaving responsibilities unfinished. You ask voters to excuse your behavior while excoriating her for hers. That isn't leadership. That's selective outrage. Jesus had a word for that. Since you all want to have faith and Christian in your websites and your push cards and your commercials, Jesus called it hypocrisy. Not misunderstanding, not poor timing, hypocrisy. You talk about leadership as if it's a destination, a title, a promotion. But leadership, real leadership, is stewardship. It's tending to what you have been given or ran for or got elected to do before reaching for what you think is next. And there's only one person among all of these candidates whose life, 30 years, tells a different story. He's not a career politician. He's not a ladder climber. He's a true shepherd. He's a pastor. A pastor doesn't abandon his flock when a bigger stage opens up. A pastor does not lead the sheep for greener pastures. A pastor understands something that politics and politicians always forget. People Voters are not stepping stones. They're souls. They're humans. The scripture said the hired hand runs when trouble comes because the sheep are not his. The shepherd stays, not because it's easy, not because it's profitable, but because it's right. Many of you running in this race in the 14th have made a living moving on. Shiny a current coin, I'm going for it. New donors, I'm going for it. From seat to seat, office to office, promise to promise. And you call it, I have experience. But experience without consistency does not build trust, my friends. It builds fatigue. That's why you have people like Charles and my friend who told me yesterday, I'm getting tired, Shelley. I may sit this one out because they're tired. They're tired of the hypocrisy. The pastor in this race, Pastor Tom Gray, he didn't wake up one day and decide, hey, you know what? I'm going to run for Congress. He's been serving Sunday after Sunday, week after week, year after year, without applause, without polls, without donors, without consultants, without strategists, when the cameras were never rolling. He has buried the dead, comforted the grieving, counseled the broken. He's helped people. He's cured people. He's aided people. He stood with families long after the elections were gone. Unlike the politicians who will show up to the churches, show up to the rallies, show up to the meetings, and then as soon as they get elected, they're gone. You don't see them again for another 2 years. That's not ambition. On his part, it's called obedience. All of these candidates speak about faith, but faith without works is dead. And works done only when it's convenient is not faith at all. A pastor understands accountability because he lives with it daily. He doesn't answer to the RNC or the GOP. He doesn't answer to consultants. He doesn't answer to ambition. He only answers to his parishioners and God and the people who know him by name. Career politicians learn how to speak Christian language. I'm faith-based. I have faith. I'm Christian. I'm conservative. Pastors learn how to live it. Career politicians learn how to win rooms. Pastors learn how to carry others' burdens. Career politicians ask, what's next for me? A pastor asks every single morning when he rises out of bed, who needs me right now? That's the difference. If you live in the 14th, that you should be paying attention to. Because the 14th district doesn't need another politician who knows how to climb. It needs someone who knows how to stand. Stand with conviction. Stand with humility. Stand when it's inconvenient. Stand when there's nothing to gain, like Pastor Tom Gray has been doing for 30 years. Jesus didn't choose the powerful. He chose the faithful. He didn't elevate the ambitious. He elevated the obedient. And when he spoke about leadership, he said, and I quote, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant. Not your strategist, not your donor, not your careerist, your servant. So yes, hold people accountable for leaving early, but apply the same standards across the board. If you're going to get mad at Marjorie Taylor Greene for retiring early, hold it against the people who are leaving office early to jump to the next rung on their career ladder. But recognize the one who didn't abandon a calling when something shinier appeared. Recognize Pastor Tom Gray, who has already been serving long before this race began. The voters are not asking for perfection. They're asking for integrity. They're not asking for someone who sounds Christian. They're not asking for someone who says all the Christian things. They're asking for someone who lives it every single day for 30 years. And in a race full of politicians chasing power, sometimes the most radical choice is the shepherd who stayed. Sometimes the most radical choice is truly the outsider. You all love Donald Trump because he was an outsider. He never ran for office before. Why not Pastor Tom Gray? Consider it, voters of the 14th. Please, please consider Pastor Tom Gray, my friends. Consider it. Because he has Christian on his push card. And he could prove it. 404-872-0750. 1-800-WSB Talk. We'll be right back.